The Great Hall was a universe of its own, dust motes swirling in shafts of light above a tapestry of nations. Delegates filled their seats, the hum of quiet conversation and rustling papers a familiar backdrop to diplomacy. But today, November 13, 2025, tension simmered beneath the routine. The world outside watched, expecting little more than another day of speeches. Some delegates leaned forward, alert, others slouched, weary from promises unkept. The weight of global crises pressed down simmering conflicts, collapsing ecosystems, widening divides. The United Nations, meant to solve these problems, often felt more like a museum of intentions than a catalyst for change. The iconic green marble podium stood empty, microphones poised, translators ready in their glass booths. This hall had heard declarations of war and pleas for peace, witnessed triumph and bitter debate. Today's agenda was simple, but the outcome would be anything but. The delegates, cocooned in this chamber, were about to be jolted by a voice unlike any before. The stage was set for a reckoning. The President of the General Assembly called the session to order, his voice steady, his words routine. Delegates listened with practiced respect, accustomed to the formal dance of international relations. Behind the podium, nearly 200 flags stood as silent witnesses. Familiar faces took their turns. A superpowers minister spoke of stability. An ambassador pleaded for climate justice. The speeches were polished, the responses polite, the translators seamless. The real work, everyone knew, happened in corridors, not on stage. Phones were checked, glances exchanged, the Grand Theatre of the UN playing out its well-rehearsed script. Then the President announced an unusual speaker, a global citizen representative. Delegates looked up, curiosity flickering. The title was ambiguous, almost poetic, a voice for the world, not any one nation. A low murmur rippled through the hall, breaking the monotony. Who was this person? The room braced for something unexpected. From a side entrance, a lone figure emerged. Ilara. No entourage, no security, just a quiet determination as she walked to the podium. She was not a politician or celebrity, but a former teacher from a forgotten town, chosen by a global initiative. Her simple clothes and lack of notes set her apart from the suited crowd. As she reached the podium, a hush fell. She stood in silence, scanning the faces, not as officials, but as people. Her eyes held sadness and resolve. This was not another speech. It was something different. Cameras zoomed in on her unguarded face, lines of empathy and strength visible to all. The delegates, used to power and posturing, were disarmed by her authenticity. She was not there to demand or negotiate, but to bear witness. The silence deepened, commanding attention more than any gavel. Ilara placed her hands on the podium, grounding herself. She took a deep breath, broadcast to the world. The hall was utterly still, united in anticipation. For the first time that day, everyone listened. Ilara began, her voice clear and gentle. I do not stand before you as a representative of any government. I am here to represent the silent, the farmer whose fields have turned to dust, the child who hears war instead of lullabies, the future asking, what have you done? We speak of peace, yet build bigger walls, of prosperity, yet watch our planet gasp for air. We are not enemies or competitors. We are a single human family living in a shared home. And our home is on fire. The hall was stunned, Ilara's words echoing in every mind. She looked into the main camera, her voice a whisper with immense authority. On behalf of the people of this world, I declare a global ceasefire. Not a request, not a proposal, a declaration. For 24 hours, every soldier to lay down arms, every factory to halt pollution, every person to see the humanity in their neighbour. For one day, we act as one species. A collective gasp swept the assembly, unprecedented, unthinkable. A citizen with no formal authority declaring a global ceasefire from the UN podium. The president of the assembly was bewildered, security tense, the chamber paralysed. Ilara concluded, "The world is waiting. The choice is yours." She bowed her head, then walked away with quiet dignity. She disappeared, leaving a vacuum of sound and a storm of confusion, and, for some, hope. The silence that followed was louder than any applause. The world tried to process what it had just witnessed. Chaos erupted in the hall. A delegate from a small island nation began to applaud. Slow, deliberate, soon joined by others. The applause was raw, desperate, a surge of hope. But many from major powers sat grim-faced, aides whispering urgently. To them, this was a dangerous disruption, a challenge to authority. The president banged his gavel, calling for order, but the noise only grew. Some delegates argued, others called home for instructions. The speech had polarized the room, exposing deep fractures. In the midst of turmoil, a veteran diplomat sat in tears, unmoved by applause or argument. Asked later what he felt, he replied, "For 50 years I heard speeches about power. Today I heard a speech about humanity." His words captured the moment. The UN's purpose, shaken but remembered. The world was divided, but something had shifted. A new conversation had begun. Ilara's speech exploded online before she left the building. The global ceasefire clip went viral. Hashtags like "The People's Ceasefire" and "Ilara Speaks" trending worldwide. News channels aired the speech in full, commentators at a loss for words. In cities and classrooms, people watched and discussed. A soldier posted, "For 24 hours, these boots will not march." The declaration, though lacking legal power, gained moral authority. World leaders responded cautiously, some dismissing, others acknowledging the spirit. Public pressure mounted. To ignore it was to appear deaf to the people. The internet became a global town hall. Memes, art and songs, inspired by Ilara's words, flooded every platform. A digital clock counted down the ceasefire's hours. Peace vigils and community actions sprang up. Ilara, the unknown teacher, became the world's most talked about person. She had used the simple power of a shared idea. Ilara's speech changed the conversation, shifting focus from political procedure to the fundamental why. She forced humanity to confront its contradictions, a crisis of empathy at the root of war, climate change, and inequality. Her call for a one-day ceasefire was a symbolic, global experiment in peace. It asked for a simple, personal choice. For one day, could you choose peace? Her message redefined leadership, not power, but moral clarity. Ilara held no office, commanded no army, but spoke with truth. She showed that one authentic voice could be more powerful than nations. It was a lesson for every leader and citizen. True power is the ability to inspire. The world was left with a question: would we listen? The answer was now in everyone's hands. As the sun set, the world was changed. The ceasefire was not universal, but in some places guns fell silent and people gathered for peace. Ilara vanished from public view, her silence amplifying her message. She had lit a torch and handed it to humanity. The UN was shaken, but not broken. A new energy filled its halls. Delegates spoke with more urgency, more humility. The conversation had shifted from managing crises to preventing them. Ilara's speech did not solve everything, but it opened a long closed door. The idea that we are one family, sharing one home, had been spoken on the world's highest stage. It could not be unheard. A seed was planted. The world's challenges remained, but something fundamental had changed. Ilara's words marked the beginning of a new chapter. The dawn of a new conversation had arrived.